Hello, this is Tasty Eats by Tess. Today we're going to be making a lasagna. I've had a few requests for that, so I'm going to give that a try. We'll see how this goes. So we'll get started by heating up our pan. So it'll be just a second here. There we go. We'll heat that up, and in the meantime, I've chopped already 2 cloves of garlic. And I just wanted to share with you how I peel my garlic, because it's probably about the quickest and easiest way of going about that. I just put it, a lot of people are doing this. Just give it a really good whack. And you'll notice that it flattens the garlic as well. You just want to take off that end piece. And it comes right off. Just slips right off. So now you can flatten it even more, so it makes it easier for you to give that a good chop, and it won't slip while you're cutting it. Makes it also easier for you to make it into a finer grind while doing your garlic. Make sure you don't have any of those little peels in there. And of course you could grate this as well, but I find this works just fine. There we go. And it doesn't have to be that finely chopped, because it's going to all melt in with the sauce for the lasagna. So I've already chopped up half, I'd say small to medium onion right here. And I'll just go ahead and show you how I chop my onion as well. Because it's on a half here, it keeps it really stable while you're chopping it. So you can just go along nicely with that. Keep your fingers back. There we go. Perfect. So there we are. We have a whole onion here, small to medium. This is heated up for us now, so we'll just go ahead and add our oil. That's about 1.5 tablespoons of oil. It's already nicely heated here, so we can actually go ahead and add our onion to the pan. I like this big knife because it works as a scoop. There we go. And that's that. Give it a nice little stir around. And this doesn't have to be brown. It just needs to be cooked nicely through, and it will do that while it's in the oven as well. Perfect. You can see that the onion's chopped up nicely here. Great. So we'll go ahead and add our garlic to this as well. Beautiful. What I strongly suggest is, whenever you're making a recipe, it doesn't have to be exactly as a person puts in their recipe. I strongly encourage to try new things. Perhaps the first time you try it, you'll know the second time, oh, maybe I can add a little of this or a little of that, or take this out, or substitute something. It's always fun to make it your own. And there we go. So adding to that, I have 1.5 pounds of ground beef. And you can go ahead and throw in at the same time, I have a hot Italian sausage, but you can certainly choose just an Italian sausage or a mild Italian sausage as well. I have, it's 5 of the sausages. I've taken off the skin, the outer skin from that. And this is about 1 pound of hot Italian sausage. By all means, try any type of sausage, but I strongly suggest that you try adding some sausage to your lasagna. It gives it a lot of flavor. And just cutting it up a little bit here as we go. Just makes it easier for the frying. Give it a stir. I think my family is going to be really happy when they try their dinner tonight. They don't know I'm actually making this. And there we go. We like a little bit of heat in a lot of our tomato dishes, so that's one of the reasons that I've chosen a hot Italian sausage. And it's going to mellow out, you'll find, because we added also 1.5 pounds of just regular ground beef. So it won't be as hot as you think it might be. So I'm going to let this go. Let it fry up and get a little bit brown here. And in the meantime, I have, normally everyone puts their mozzarella cheese, of course, but in between the layers, I like to have a cottage cheese. This is 2 cups of cottage cheese and 3 eggs. So we'll just beat that up nicely here. And there's no need to add salt again because you already have salt in your cottage cheese. Give it a good beat up here. Basically, that's it for that layer that goes in between the layers of your lasagna noodles and sauce. Give it a good mix around. You'll find it looks like it might be too thin for a sauce to go in between, but trust me on this, it's very good. What it does, the cottage cheese and egg, it gives it a lighter, fluffier texture to your lasagna. So it's more juicy. It'll never be dry. There we go. Nice. So it's not that thin, you can see. It's not going to run off or run away. There we go. Perfect. So that's ready to go for later on once we put this all together. And I'll just give this another stir here. Make sure it's not sticking to the bottom. That's just fine. So we're good to go ahead with that. So to this, we're going to be adding 1 tablespoon of onion powder, 1 tablespoon of garlic powder. Although we have the garlic already in there, I always like to add a little bit of onion powder. Gives it a nice flavor to it. And almost everything I add onion powder as well. So we have Italiano seasoning. We're going with 2 tablespoons of that. And we're also going to be adding equally 2 tablespoons of basil. I just love basil in my lasagna. And it'll look like it's a lot, but once you add all of the other ingredients, it's going to be just perfect. Give that a stir. And as you're going along, you want to break up those little chunks that are in there. Oh my, it smells so good. And this does not have to be fully cooked through, because when you add your liquids to this, it'll break this up as well with that liquid. So this is 3 cups of chopped tomatoes. And we have 2 cups of crushed tomatoes. And at the same time, we want to also add some tomato paste. And that will be about 2 tablespoons of tomato paste. That just gives it a darker, deeper, richer color to your sauce. Wow, smells so good. I'm going to see as we go on, I think we might need another tablespoon of tomato paste. But I'm going to let that cook down a bit, and we'll see what we need to add. Perfect. So we're having an Italian lasagna, but what we're having for the salad, it's going to be a Greek salad. Just my style. It may not be authentically Greek, but it's the way that I like it and my family likes it. So we'll go ahead and get started on that. In the meantime as well, I have on the go some water for the lasagna noodles. And what we're using here is 1 small red onion. Don't skimp on it. Use 1 small onion. Probably turns out to be over a half a cup of red onion, and it's going to be cut in half and then sliced very thinly. But of course, you can judge how you might like it. And I have 2 romaine hearts here that we're going to chop up. And that's going to be quite, I'd say, on a very rough chop. Just like that. And you don't want to go too far down to the end of this. You can just discard that. You'll have to just separate those leaves as well once you get further down the romaine heart. They're nice and crunchy. So it's my favorite part actually of the lettuce is the close to the end. But all of it's required because the more of the green is actually at the top. I'm going to be going with 2 of the lettuce hearts, romaine hearts. One's just not enough because with lasagna, I really like a lot of salad. It's uplifting and it's fresh and kind of light. I find anything in a salad that has lemon gives it a real nice uplift, light flavor, little tangy, tastes beautiful. So there we are. And I have here, I don't like to skimp on the cheese. Let's see how we're going to do this. I think it's better off here. It's about 1.25 cups of feta cheese. And it's nice to have it in relatively thick chunks, and you can have some little thin ones as well. But I find the chunky is much nicer. So I'm going to use the method in the jar for the dressing. It's 1/4 cup of olive oil. And the juice of 1 whole lemon. And you can add those little pieces of the lemon, the pulp. There we go. And to that, we're going to be adding about 1 teaspoon of salt. We'll just give, oh, we also need our oregano here. There we are. And that's going to be 2 tablespoons of oregano. Give that a mix. Just makes it creamier when you do this. Some people tend to just pour the olive oil and the lemon over the top and the oregano. This just keeps a more creamy consistency, and it doesn't taste as oily this way. I will not be adding the dressing quite yet because this is for dinner. I don't want to put the olive oil and anything in here. It'll make it actually a lot more soggy than it should be. We're also going to be adding some tomatoes here. These are just some grape tomatoes. About 1/2 package of those is probably enough. Perfect. So we'll leave that aside and we'll let everything cook over here on the stove and we'll put it all together. Great. So now we already have our noodles. You just need to, they should not be fully cooked through. They should be a little al dente. You want to make sure also that they're not sticking together. So you should rinse the noodles in this case. And so that's how that goes. In the meantime, I'm heating up a pot here so that we can make a Bachamal sauce. I have 1/2 an onion that I'm just putting in there. There's 4 tablespoons of butter. We'll let that melt down slightly here. There we go. Oh, I just love the smell of butter. Nothing else in here but onions and butter. Okay, so we'll let that go a little. In the meantime though, we can already start to prepare our pan here. We do want to have it oiled slightly so it just doesn't stick so much. Oil there. We have our sauce on the side here as well. So that's just cooling down a little before we put this all together. So it has a nice, deep, dark, rich color now. Keep letting that air out a bit. And to that salad that we made earlier, we're going to be adding some mixed olives as well. You'll notice that we're not skimping on flavor here, so it may be fatty, but it's going to be very delicious. If you wanted, you could make it less with less cheese, or omit some the Bachamal sauce, for example. But I don't think we'll be making lasagna so often that once in a while we cannot just enjoy the full fat. So that's good. They've softened nicely. We'll add to that approximately 3 tablespoons of flour. That's going to be our thickener. There we go. Let that cook just a couple more minutes so that it softens the onions a little more. Perfect. So we can go ahead and add the rest of the ingredients for this. So the flour and the butter and the onion is fully ready to add in. We'll need a little bit of salt here. About 1/4 teaspoon of salt goes in there. And about 1/4 teaspoon of pepper, and 2 cups of milk. You can turn that up a little. And you want to let this cool down as well before you add it to your lasagna. I will be adding the rest of the milk, but first I want this to heat up better here. And we'll grate in some nutmeg. This is basically to taste. So it's probably about, I'd say less than 1/4 teaspoon for sure. We'll go ahead and add the rest of that milk. And once it comes to a simmer, you can turn that down and continue to cook it for about 3 minutes. We're now at the best part, the assembly. So we'll go with a cup here, or a scoopful, I should say, right on the bottom of the pan. Just give it a little spread around. Just like that. That looks good. And we'll go with our noodles now. This pan is 12 by lengthwise and 10 inches across approximately. Put our first layer here. So this pan is taking 4 lengthwise. And we just go ahead here with a layer of sauce. A little bit more. Nice and saucy. And you want to try and get as close to the edges as you possibly can so that your noodles are not sticking up and burning during the baking process. Just going to adjust those, going down a little. Find any extra chunky pieces in there, go ahead and break those up. Good. Okay, that's perfect. And we'll go ahead here with our cottage cheese and egg mixture over the top of this. Yum! There we go. We'll just spread that evenly here over the top. We'll also take our mozzarella. The mozzarella tends to actually act like a binder between the layer of the cheeses with your noodles. Moving on to the next one. I think I left this stove on. I'll turn that off. Here we go. Lovely. We'll go with our meat sauce again. And we'll be making three layers, I guess you'd call it. So we're trying to put the meat into approximately portioned out in 3/3. Nice. There we go. So we're going to end here. I think we're going to put our Bachamal sauce here first, getting everything out of the way. And this just goes right over the top. I just use this scoop that we were using here. It's probably easier to scoop that in than pouring. Beautiful. And because we don't want this to spill over in the oven, we'll be placing some tin foil just under the pan as well. There we go. Lovely. You want to get every last drop here if you can. There we go. Nice. Okay, we'll put our cheese over the top. We have a little leftover cheese here. Just evenly over. And we can grate some Parmesan over the top of that. Oh, here we are. This is fresh Parmesan. Whoa. It's a cheese overload today, but it's definitely going to be pleasing. I think that's good. You can put as little or as much as you'd like. But I think I'll leave some of this for the top of the lasagna when it comes out and I put it on my plate. Great. So I'll put this in now and 350, probably for an hour to an hour and a half. Perfect. Super. So that's ready to come out. It was in there for an hour. So we'll just get that out and see how it came. Wow. Will you look at that? It's just gorgeous. So it didn't spill over much. Maybe a little bit of the oil had dripped over, but it was fine. And we'll go ahead and plate this up. What I'm going to start with here, we'll go with those olives that I told you about, and we'll just dump those in. We'll give that a little mix here to make sure everything is combined here nicely. Oh, beautiful. I'm just going to mix mine up in this small bowl. Make sure we get a little of everything here. A few more tomatoes and olives. And we'll give this a mix. Usually when you cut a lasagna, you should leave it sit for about a half an hour. Just so it cuts up nicely. But I can't wait, so I'm going to be cutting it a little sooner. So just pour a little of that on the top. Not too much. Make sure that's blended nicely. You want a little bit of sauce on all the leaves. A little easier for mixing if you have a bigger bowl for this. It's just for one serving, so this will be fine. So we just put this aside for a second, and we'll go ahead and we're going to slice it. Still pretty hot. So I'm going to go with a generous amount here. Oh, it's cutting beautifully. Okay, perfect. Yeah, it should definitely sit for a while. Still quite hot. Okay. Let's check it out. Just want to go along the edges a bit here. Beautiful. Yep, definitely juicy. Take a look at that. Now the lettuce, salad, the Greek salad, along the side here. Beautiful. And let's give it a taste. Wow. Definitely, it's a must try. Oh, it's beautiful. If I were you, I would keep with the original recipe for the sauce, because definitely this is where it's at. Oh my. Wow. Let's try our salad. The two together, it's a perfect marriage. It is incredible. I say don't leave out the sausage because it adds so much to this. Go ahead, give this a try. And that's how it's made. I hope you have a great day. Bye now.